Good evening, everybody. How are you? How is everyone? Shout out to Tukio Troy. Excellent comment. Had to share that with you all. Excellent comment. How's everyone? Welcome to the show. Welcome, welcome, welcome. To the next show will be better. It's our live stream from the Hickson Diaries, where we talk about what it's really like for an American living in the UK. We talk about the good stuff, the bad stuff, the ugly stuff, the really gorgeous stuff, and everything in between. For those of you who don't know, I'm your host, Mandy. Tonight, we're going to find out where I've been. I'm going to get you guys an update on the RBL fundraising for the year. We're going to learn a little bit about the Royal Air Force. And of course, as always, the live chat is open. Be sure to drop your questions, comments, super chats, concerns, whatever. I'll respond to them throughout the show. And if you could please hit that like button for me. And if you're so inclined and would like access to our newsletter, then consider clicking the link to sign up for our newsletter. All you have to do is enter your email. It's absolutely free. And the only reason I'm gathering emails is to try to have a side list just in case anything happens to YouTube and all this blows up. It is an American company, so I'm a little bit wary. Also, you just want to never, you don't want to miss anything that's happening with the channel, right? So make sure that you hit the subscribe and all that kind of stuff too. Join if you can. This way you always know what's happening. And of course, thank you very, very much for your continued support. So we have a few things to cover today, and it's a little bit jam-packed. So I'm going to jump right in. Let's see if we can make this show better than last week's. I want to jump into the very first thing. Unfortunately, we have to start with something that is a little bit sad, but it needs to be acknowledged, in my opinion. So for those of you who don't know, we are partners with the Royal British Legion, and we do send a monthly donation of all of our proceeds to the Royal British Legion, and we are extremely, extremely proud of that partnership and make this big for y'all. But today, unfortunately, was a sad day. The last surviving pilot in the Battle of Britain died today. He was 105, which is a huge testament. So I just want to read this for you all and give him the recognition he deserves. This is from Sky News. John Paddy Hemingway was the last surviving Battle of Britain pilot, and he died at the age of 105. John Hemingway never saw his role in the Battle of Britain as anything other than doing the job he was trained to do, the RAF said, adding, his courage in the face of overwhelming odds demonstrated his sense of duty and the importance of British resilience. It's a great picture of him looking at the sky. Sorry. The Royal Air Force said he passed away peacefully on Monday. Paddy Hemingway, one of the few and a revered figure in British aviation history, played a key role in defending the skies over the United Kingdom against the Nazis in the summer of 1940 when he was just 19. The few refers to a speech by Sir Winston Churchill in the House of Commons in August that year as the Battle of Britain reached its peak. Praising the efforts of the RAF fighter pilots, the wartime Prime Minister said that never in the field of human conflict was so much owed by so many to so few. In an online tribute, the RAF said Mr. Hemingway's squadron shot down 90 enemy aircraft during an 11-day period in May of 1940. In August, he was twice forced to bail out of his Hurricane fighter plane, and the following year, he broke his hand in another bailing out, this time at 183 meters, which is 600 feet. Very glad they put that in there for me. After his plane's instruments failed in bad weather. His parachute failed to open properly, but luckily it caught on the branches of trees, sparing him further injury. Near the end of World War II, while serving in the Mediterranean, he was forced to bail out a fourth time near Ravenna, I think, in Italy, after his Spitfire was hit multiple times by anti-aircraft fire. Dropping into enemy territory, he contacted Italian partisans who helped him return to his squadron. Mr. Hemingway never saw his role in the Battle of Britain as anything other than doing the job that he was trained to do, the RAF said. The force described him as always having a twinkle in his eyes as he recalled the fun times with colleagues in France and London. His courage in the face of overwhelming odds demonstrated his sense of duty and the importance of British resilience. Mr. Hemingway, the RAF said, was a quiet, composed, thoughtful, and mischievous individual who embodied the spirit of all those who flew sorties over this green and pleasant land. In July 1941, he was awarded the Distinguished Flying Cross, and in September of that year, he was mentioned in dispatches. The Prince of Wales paid tribute to Mr. Hemingway in a post on X. Prince William said, "I was sad to hear about the passing of John Paddy Hemingway this morning, the last of the few. We owe so much to Paddy and his generation for our freedoms today. Their bravery and sacrifice will always be remembered. We shall never forget them." Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer said, "Very sad to hear of the passing of Group Captain John Paddy Hemingway, the last known Battle of Britain pilot. His courage and that of all RAF pilots helped end World War II and secure our freedom. We will never forget their bravery and service. Thank you, John Paddy Hemingway." Defense Secretary John Haley said Mr. Hemingway's generation understood the importance of freedom and sacrificed so much to achieve it. Air Chief Marshal Sir Rich Knighton said the flyer was an amazing character whose life story embodies all that was and remains great about the Royal Air Force. My thoughts for and condolences to his family. Obviously a brilliant man, obviously someone that is a true hero in every sense of the word, and someone that will truly be missed. And it does mark the end of an era. And yeah. Thank him and all his family for their service. To be honest, I didn't hear about that. I was planning on doing a show about the RAF today anyway, but I heard about that this morning when I was on my way to work, and I had to give the shout out. I couldn't let it go. The RAF is really important, obviously, to Britain. And the RAF was also really important to our family personally. My partner's grandfather was a spotter. For those of you who don't know, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I did learn about this recently, but I might have some things wrong. He was a spotter who would communicate. He worked with a partner. One person would have the binoculars and was searching for enemy aircraft, and the other person would have the phone and would call in and have the lines of communication to the rest of the air bases in the area to see if they had to send somebody up, etc. So he was the person who would do the communicating on the phone. So the RAF also has a special tie to my family. And this is like everything that I've ever seen, heard, read about the RAF from the Battle of Britain and the RAF in general, but particularly during World War II, has just been absolutely incredible, amazing stories. So it's a sad end to an era. And I hope that I hope that, their sacrifices aren't forgotten, but it's up to people like us to make sure that they aren't. So, sorry to start everything off with a sad story, but as I said earlier, I couldn't let it go without commenting on it. So thank you for being a true hero. Thank you for your service, Patty, and I hope that you are at peace. So, 105. Wow. That might be a really good commercial for National Health Service, because 105, that is up there. Can only imagine what it's like. So I want to go right into the next thing with you guys. Like I said, we have a few things to get to today. So, and that was a kind of a last minute add-in. So let's go into the update of the fundraiser for the Royal British Legion. So if you guys don't mind. So for those of you who don't know, you might be new or you might be watching us on a replay and coming to the channel for the first time. We are partners with the Royal British Legion, and a portion of all of our proceeds gets donated to the Royal British Legion. That's right off the top of our, before we even pay any of our bills or anything like that. And also, if you are a member, if you click that join button and become a member, £1 of your membership fee actually gets donated on top of whatever it is that we're donating, of the proceeds that we're donating as well. We have a goal of trying to hit £1,000 by the end of 2025. Last year we hit just over £500, which was really great. Considering our partnership started in the middle of the year, and I really didn't promote it that much or anything, but the channel is doing really, really well. So I'm hoping that we can hit that £1,000 mark. So let's see how we're doing. In January, we hit £80, which was really close to that £100 that we wanted to try to get to. And in February, we hit £75. So total, it's actually £155 that we've raised so far for the first 2 months of January and February. So we're a little bit short, I think, of where we want to be to hit that £1,000 mark. However, with the launch of the website this month and the relaunch of the membership program, and the channel is also picking up some momentum, I think we're actually going to catch up. And you guys are always extremely supportive, sending in your super chats and sending in thanks and making sure that you're promoting and liking and sharing and all that kind of stuff. So I am greatly, greatly appreciative for this £155 we've raised so far. Let's keep going. We're doing well. Let's keep this momentum going, and hopefully March will be, even better than January and February combined. Maybe. Just so that you know, as a reminder, again, if you are new here and you haven't seen this, ways that you help us support the Royal British Legion: sending a super chat during the live shows, hitting that thanks button under the video if you're watching this on a replay or you're watching a video that you love, just hitting the like button, sharing it with someone that might enjoy it, or even leaving a comment. All of that also helps, because it helps the algorithm, and it helps all their videos get out there to more people, to be watched by more people. Interacting with all of the community posts that we put out. They're mainly updates and just fun polls and quizzes and just interactive things that I try to keep everybody engaged with. So if you could like all of those and leave comments and participate, that also helps the algorithm, getting more things out there for everybody. And of course, if you rewatch your favorite videos over and over and over again, that's always good too, because it shows the algorithm how good I am doing. I mean, how good my shit is, right? Also, if you do decide and you have the means If you become a member, as I mentioned earlier, a pound of all of everyone's membership fee does get automatically allocated to our fund for the Royal British Legion. And for those of you who don't know, the Royal British Legion is an organization for veterans here in the UK. They support veterans and their families when they return home from service in any kind of support they need, whether it be medical, whether it be mental, whether it be counseling services, whether it be, raising funds to help their houses I've read stories about, people raising funds to get their houses fitted because they have a disability now, and all kinds of things like that. And their families, supporting their families as well. So it's an amazing cause. And I appreciate everyone's support. And I appreciate everybody that participates in whatever way that you participate. There is no obligation at all to donate any money. I know it is tough times out there. So if you can't do it, that is completely fine. But just like I said, all those free ways of just liking, sharing, commenting, interacting, joining us, all of that really helps out a lot too. Every pound that we can make will help a veteran. Thank you so much. Okay. Sorry, I'm still a little emotional. I'm not gonna lie about that story. It really touched me, and I've been thinking about it all day today. So bear with me. All right, let's do a quick check-in, see who's here. Oh, whew. Hi, Falco. Thank you for joining. Manny. Now I got to do that every single time, I think. Disco, thank you so much for joining us. And just so that you guys know, Disco's our moderator, so make sure everybody thank him for doing such a fantastic job. Yes, God bless John Hemingway. May he rest in peace. Ugh. Hi, Piper. Yeah, 105, man. Whew, that is... And he seemed like he was kicking a bit too. So it wasn't, 105 in a bed. So go for it, man. Whew. Hi, Scott. Thanks so much for joining us. Don't worry about being late. We're all good. Ooh, I lost my comments. Give me a moment. One woman show and I suck. Okay. Yes, rest in peace. Thank you for all of your good wishes while we were talking about that story. Hi, TJ. Thank you for joining us. Oh, someone's from Dartford. Huh, I know Dartford. I know like 7 places, so that makes me feel good. Catching up. I don't know. Don't mind Iceland. I don't like. Okay, you guys are talking footy. We can just scroll right past that. Oh, thank you very much, Scott. I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. Thank you. Oof. I lost my place, y'all. There I am. All right. Mandy says, that's all right, Mandy. Patty needed to be recognized for his service. We are truly grateful to him and all the men and women who fought in both world wars. Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you, Manny. I appreciate that. Scott, so I know you've seen it, but I'll reiterate so that you can donate by hitting the like button. You can donate by sending a super chat. You can donate by hitting a thanks button underneath. You could donate by becoming a member. Or if you go to hicksondiaries.com, which is our website, there is a page dedicated to the Royal British Legion. You can donate that way as well. Again, all those proceeds go direct. Anything that's raised from the website goes directly to the fund as well. Hi, Mick MacArthur. Thank you so much for joining us. TJ, thank you. Thank you. Thank you. TJ sent a super chat and she says, payment for your blushes. Thank you. That was very generous of you. I appreciate it. Disco, thank you as well for your super chat. and have a cup. Maybe I might need to have a drink at the end of the show today. And Scott also sent a super chat. Thank you so much. I will donate to the cause, but this is for you. Cheers from Dundee. Oh, you're sweet. Thank you, Scott. I'm just calling you Scott. I know it's D Scott, but I'm just calling you Scott because it's easier. I hope that's okay. Yeah, I know, TJ. That guest I had on a couple weeks ago, she was awful. We're never having her on again. She just talked and talked and talked and talked and talked. Yeah. Kill me if I ever try to do that again. Oh, Manny, thank you so much. I appreciate that as well. You guys are being very generous today. Thank you. I appreciate it. Your generosity just never goes unnoticed or unappreciated. I hope you all know that. I do get kind of busy because, as I mentioned, this is a one-woman show, and I pretty much do it all, plus full-time work, full-time mom, full-time wife, and, me. So, yeah. It gets to be a little overwhelming sometimes, but I don't mind. I love it. Okay. Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you, Scott. Okay. So I put out every week, I put out a little where have I been? And I want to know if you guys can tell where I've been. Nobody commented on this one this week, which is very unusual. I usually have a handful or so of people that comment, but nobody did. I'm wondering if anyone knows what this is. Well, yeah, it's the wing. It says the wing. What is it the wing of? Disco being cheeky. Anyone? Anyone? Shout out to Manny for your super chat. I think I said it earlier, but just in case, it is a museum. Very good, TJ. Well done. Is it Hendon? I don't know what Hendon is, so yeah, no, it's not. Sorry, I don't know what that is. Oh my goodness, I'm surprised you guys don't know, but that's okay. Don't worry. I will tell you as soon as I can find the video that I wanted to share with you. I can't believe you guys didn't figure it out. I'm surprised. I don't know where this video is now, and I'm a little bit annoyed. So I might just have to tell you. May just have to tell you. Or I can show you a picture and see if you can figure a second picture and see if you can figure it out from there. It's not working. So I'm going to just tell you that it is, oh, wait. And I told you I'm sucking at this tonight. I have something else for you that may help. But I can't find it. Yeah. I don't know where all my pictures went. So this is there we go. It was the Battle of Britain Museum. Memorial. I don't know, memorial/museum, I guess. Very, very, very cool. Have to admit, I was a little it was kind of we were on our way doing something else, and I was like, oh, we should do that Battle of Britain Museum sometime as we were passing it. And my partner's like, let's just do it now. Like, we have time. We don't really have a plan. Let's go do it. It seemed like it wasn't going to be a big deal, like an all-day thing. but it ended up being an all-day thing. It was fantastic. I really enjoyed it a lot. They had some American Jeeps out front, which were really, really cool as well. That was just for me. But it was really cool. I did enjoy it. It was a nice little welcome, I felt like. It was bigger than I thought. It has, a nice cool lobby with a bunch of artifacts and stuff in it. And then off to the right, there's like a gift shop. Off to the left, there's like a little museum. And then you walk through, and it's this massive ground. Not massive, but it's a campus. And it's got, a walkway to it. And there's a hill to the top. And it had amazing views of the channel, and this incredible statue of a RAF pilot, just sitting and looking out. Absolutely gorgeous scenery, and the grounds are beautiful. As you can see, there's me. I wasn't dressed for climbing all of the hills and stuff, but I did it anyway. So there's Dover there in the background. They had model planes and stuff there as well. Spitfires, a Hurricane was there as well, and some sculptures. They had, that should have been something, but I don't know what it was. They also had a wall that had a list of all of the RAF pilots and that fought in the Battle of Britain, or everybody that participated in the Battle of Britain. They had a few other memorials of some of the generals and commanders that were, were there at that time. The museum itself was really cool. I don't have any pictures of the museum because we weren't allowed to take any footage while we were inside, but it was really cool. They had like a phone that you could dial certain rooms and stuff, and you can talk to people and they would tell you their story about, it was real life participants that told their story. They had a cool movie about the scramble and how the pilots would have to just kind of be ready at the drop of a hat to be able to just scramble and run to the planes and take off right away. They had a little interactive thing where you could like you can control a Spitfire, which I did not very well. It crashed, but I did take down like 3 or 4 planes with me. So my partner did much better. He got like 15 or something. And then you had a little room where you could dress up in some of the uniforms and stuff like that. Lots of pictures, lots of quotes, lots of memorabilia. It was really, really moving. It was really touching. It was unexpectedly I really enjoyed it. It was just really, really, really lovely. And so, yeah, the Battle of Britain Museum in Kent. Highly recommend it. When I repost this out there, I'll put a link in the description box so you guys can check it out. Really well worth it. Everything is free as well. The only thing is the museum part costs a couple quid. But you can go and walk the grounds and see the monuments and the replica planes and some of the memorabilia and the wall and everything. All of that's free. So I highly recommend it if you can. If you can do it. Yeah, and it's called the wing because it's actually set up like a plane. And so the middle part is like the lobby part is like the cockpit or the hull of the plane. And then the wings kind of go out like that. And the walkways are also set up like that. It's really beautiful. They really, really done well. It's the wing of a Spitfire. Probably. I don't know if they modeled off after the Spitfire or the Hurricane. Both of them were big, highly featured. Piper says, every picture, I always have no clue. Well, I don't want it to be obvious. Like me standing in front of Big Ben and then, or Parliament or something in Westminster or something, and saying, "Oh, do you know where I am?" That's really obvious, right? Like I try to do things different, to try to get people thinking and start a conversation. But also, I want to see all the, I don't want to just see the big attractions. I want to see what real Britain's like, and that's part of stuff like that's part of it. Hi, David. Thank you so much for joining. I appreciate it. It's the memorial or at Capelefern. I don't know if that's right. If I said that right, I mean. Willie's Jeeps. Is that what that is? I don't know. I hear you, Piper. I didn't know it existed either. And we drove past it a couple times, and it's always been on my mind to go because obviously I know the importance of the Battle of Britain. And I've seen the movie, and obviously, I had a family member that participated in World War II. So I was my grandfather also participated in World War II. But yeah, it was really. I really wanted to just see it, and I thought it was going to be like a couple hour thing. It ended up being an all day thing, which was a pleasant surprise. I didn't sit in the Jeep and take the photo because I didn't know if they were in the parking lot. So I didn't know if they were like part of the exhibition or if they were actually someone's Jeep. So I didn't want to and they ended up being they ended up leaving while we were there. So I don't know. I'm glad I decided not to, because I might have gotten thrown out and I would have missed it. The SAS used a Willys Jeep with twin Vickers machine guns to great effect in North Africa during World War II. Oh, okay. I think I might have heard something like that. But yeah, you're right. That does sound familiar, and I'm sure you're right. Disco says during the Battle of Britain, there were 3 times the amount of Hurricanes compared to Spitfires. Yeah, I think that they had, like I said, they had featured the Hurricanes and the Spitfires both in the replicas. They were all over the place talking about both of them. They were both awesome. They were both really cool. I should have put this picture, and I think I meant to, but I'm under one of the replica wings, and it's literally like I'm under it. Like I'm actually literally under the wing, and I was like, I don't even know how people got into this thing. Anyways, it was really cool. Highly recommend if you can. I highly recommend it if you can go see it. And let me know what you think if you do go see it, because I'm curious if you enjoyed it as well. Okay, so as you know, as you can probably guess, we are talking about the RAF. Basically, because I saw the Battle of Britain Museum, and now I'm like, it's on my mind. So we're going to watch the 13 hours that saved Britain. And this is a little bit of a long one, guys. So, I understand if I lose you through it or whatever, but I am curious. I have not seen this yet. I think it has to do with the Battle of Britain. But that lasted like days, right? So I'm not 100% sure what this is about, but I am curious. So bear with me. Let's see.
On one day in September 1940, the Battle of Britain reached its decisive moment. Throughout the summer months, Britain's fighter command had fought a desperate battle against the Luftwaffe.
As far as the planes were concerned, we'd never seen anything like it. It was just awesome. They were overhead. There were masses of them.
They'd only got to come across the water, and they were here.
Everybody was in the front line. The civilians were in the front line.
Beneath the battle-ridden skies, people from all walks of life became involved in the defense of Britain. Age, situation, or circumstance.
That guy, the guy with the mic. Oh, I'm not going to be able to get it now. The guy with the microphone. That's the guy my partner's grandfather was.
Involved in the defense of Britain. Age, situation, or circumstance was no barrier.
It was a time that this country was actually welded together with one aim in mind: to defeat the aggressor.
Each day, they face the grim realities of war.
The next thing he said, I know I was standing on my own here. The man's on the floor. He'd been bombed.
To me, as a child, it seemed extraordinarily fun.
And then I glanced to the right, and I saw this huge formation of Spitfires and Hurricanes making their way directly towards the formation of the bombers.
And it was just unbelievable to see so many aircraft. Never seen so many aircraft.
One day of dramatic aerial combat would now decide the fate of the nation.
The role of the Luftwaffe during the Battle of Britain was to destroy fighter command, to gain air superiority, to enable the invasion to take place, to occupy Britain, or to force us out of the war on Nazi terms.
This is the story of that day. The 15th
Look at that. Look at that.
of September 1940, and 13 hours that saved Britain.
As an American, it's so hard to imagine this type of siege, like being a part of this type of siege, because we really haven't been a part of any kind of ongoing siege on American soil, mainland at least, for so long. I remember when I went to Pearl Harbor, I was absolutely just like floored by the gravity of it. And it was so far away, really, from any life I knew, any life anyone I knew had known. And it was just really like overwhelming. And every time I think about you guys being under siege, or you know, all the European countries that were taken over by the Nazis during World War II, or any other, or World War I even, I just like, it's really hard for me to understand the gravity of it, even though I've seen it and everything. It's just when you grow up with it around you, it's such a different kind of experience.
Hitler's Nazi Germany dominates Europe. His armed forces have swept across the continent, crushing all opposition. Of his enemies, only Britain remains undefeated.
The rest of Europe was either enthralled to Nazi Germany or had been conquered. Poland, Denmark, Norway, France, Belgium, Holland, Luxembourg, these countries had fallen. So Germany was at the peak of his powers.
Hermann Goering, head of the Luftwaffe, believes that attacks by German Air Force alone can bring Britain to its knees. He has promised the Führer that the Royal Air Force will be swept from the skies.
You had the Royal Air Force during World War I, because that was during like Red Baron era, right? I'm pretty sure. That was the start of the RAF. Is that right, you guys? Let me know in the chat, please.
The German Air Force had concentrated on the Royal Air Force, both in the air and on the ground, the fighter airfields. Germans were flying what they termed free hunts, 100, 150 fighters sweeping over southern Britain, hunting out the Hurricanes and Spitfires. An instruction went out to our pilots not to engage these fighters unless they were escorting bombers. So the myth started to grow that the Royal Air Force was being depleted and defeated.
The following events take place between 6:30 a.m. and 7:30 p.m. 13 hours that proved a turning point in the war with Germany. (6:34 a.m.) Sunday dawns for a country that has lived in fear of invasion for more than 3 months.
We had the Germans knocking at the door. If the Air Force had been overwhelmed, they would have been in London within a week or so. We couldn't have stopped it.
When France fell, we didn't think we had a chance. I mean, they'd only got to come across the water and they were here.
We were very conscious of the fact that if we lost it, I won't say the game was up, but the war would have been fought on our territory.
I think to any outside observer, you'd think, well, how can that small country survive against this might, organised might?
I said to this old soldier, tell me, what are we going to do if the Germans come? He said, if the Germans come, son, you will do what you're told. Our sort of captain, marine captain, was replaced, and he used to finish each parade. Before I dismiss you, remember, boys, take no prisoners, shoot the bastards.
And your motto is, kill the Boche!
And then he'd go with his revolver, kill, kill, kill. It encapsulates the exact attitude of the British people at that time.
Britain's air defence network prepares itself for the 13 hours ahead.
The air defence of Great Britain was divided up into 4 fighter groups. 10 group covering the southwest, 11 group London and the southeast, 12 group the Midlands, east coast, and number 13 group defending parts of the northeast Scotland and Northern Ireland.
As the day begins, one squadron from each sector is brought to readiness.
The integrated air defence of the United Kingdom is all down to the foresight of Sir Hugh Dowding. When he took over Fighter Command, he reorganised the air defence of the United Kingdom into the group system. The Germans had nothing like it, and in fact, they just did not realise what they were up against.
Okay, I remember that the first time that I went to Dover, we went into the tunnels, and the tunnels underneath that were created for World War II under Dover Castle. And they were showing us a lot of these rooms and stuff, and they had the radio towers set up and everything. And someone was telling us about all the history. And I remember at that moment, which was probably over a decade ago, like the moment it sank in, how sophisticated the communications was for Great Britain at that time. Like how well coordinated you were undercover to get like the word out to everybody and to know what was happening, to have eyes everywhere. Plus you had the spotters, plus you were like a well-oiled machine. You guys were probably as ready as anyone could ever be for a battle at that point, and as sophisticated as you could have been at that point. I remember being so impressed, and I'm still become impressed every time I think about it. It's really amazing.
8:02 a.m. A lone German Heinkel bomber on a weather reconnaissance flight flies westward along the English Channel. Out of range of British fighters, its progress is monitored by an innovation that is the cornerstone of Dowding's air defence system.
We had radar, which of course gave us eyes into the continent. So we could see the build-up of aircraft, and we could see the aircraft coming across towards the UK. This would give us time to get the aircraft up off the ground and into position to meet any given threat. This information would go from the radar stations to Headquarters Fighter Command. It was filtered, passed to their operations room, and then passed direct to the group. They would place the plots on the table, and these would be tracked in by radar.
CH radar was entirely in the business of defence. In other words, picking up bombers at 90 miles range before they ever started crossing the channel and heading in our direction. They were seen on the screen the moment they got up in the air.
The course flown by the lone Heinkel eventually brings it within range of British fighters.
The controller of the day would watch this. He would then alert whichever sector station he wanted. The sector controller's job was to get his aircraft off the ground, to vector them towards the enemy formations.
The sector controller scrambles 2 Hurricanes from Exeter to intercept the intruder. None of its 5-man crew survives. They are the first casualties of the day.
The average team spends 50% of their...
Okay. Sorry for the ads, you guys. I'm working on it.
Any office.
For the people of southeast England, increasingly accustomed to living in the shadow of war, it's a Sunday morning like many others. But it will not be a day of rest for many.
For hop picking is round again, and the family is sitting out on its pilgrimage to the green fields of Kent.
Okay, first of all, shout out to Ken. Second of all, I also become so overwhelmed when I think about the just everyday people, how y'all just banded together. Everybody accepted that they had a role to play. Everybody accepted that they had to sacrifice and they had to do things that they wouldn't normally do or they didn't necessarily want to do, even if they couldn't fight or be a part of the communications or anything like that. You organized the home front where you did that. I can't remember exactly what you called them, but where you were in the bunkers and you were doing sightings as well from the bunkers, the civilian, the Dad's Army people. I forgot what you called it. I forget what you call it, but the Dad's Army people, right? You had, people doing drives and just people taking in other people's children for safety. And, everybody was on rations. It's just, again, I can't, as an American, I've never really had anything come close to that except for 9/11, which, and a couple other terrorist attacks, but they were very random. It wasn't like living under this constant, I'm going to be attacked at any moment pressure. And it's just the way y'all handled it is just so impressive.
For some children, it is the start of another day of a working holiday in the countryside, far from the dangers of war.
We used to go to hop pick on the same farm every year in September. Now, it was traditional to wait for, we used to have 2 notifications about 10 days before we actually went. When Mum and Dad used to get a card saying, we booked a bin and hut for you. Because you was agriculture workers, that time, 1940, you got extra rations.
Summer term of 1940, attending Dartford Junior Technical College, and a notice came round asking for volunteers to go fruit picking in the coming autumn. Apparently, all accommodation, food would be provided free of charge, and we'd be paid for the work we did.
Who wouldn't sign up to that to help out? That's cool. I would do that.
In the East End of London, Mary Sterry is looking forward to a big family occasion.
My uncle was getting married. We didn't know the girl he was getting married, but we were told that she was a young actress. We had been invited to the wedding. My father, all us kids, the one getting married, Uncle Tom, was younger than my dad. And they didn't want us to go, did they? But we went.
Herbert Hurry is getting ready to join his workmates for a fundraising football match.
I played a lot of football, and in my time I played on 1 or 2 decent grounds, but they knew that at work, and but my foreman was a decent type, and he said, if you clean my car, I'll let you off to play football. We used to play down by Wormwood Scrubs, and attract 1,000 people on a Sunday.
1,000 people, that's a pretty good crowd, actually.
9 a.m. While London stirs into life.
Yeah, look at that. It's innovative and just I know I know some of this stuff probably has been done before in one fashion or another, and of course, lots of it has been repeated and done since. But like, they're covering it up to make it look like it's not really there, to make it look like it's vegetation, you know, to the naked eye and everything. It's just all those little bits and pieces that y'all put into place in order to just, it all came together and make it work. It's incredible.
At bases in occupied France, Luftwaffe aircrews prepare their aircraft for a major attack. One they expect to be decisive.
There was a meeting in The Hague in Holland, headed by Hermann Goering. At this meeting, the state of the Royal Air Force, in particular Fighter Command, was discussed. German pilots were going back, claiming maybe they'd shot down 10, 20 Hurricanes and Spitfires, in reality only 5. The Germans believed that the Royal Air Force was now on the verge of defeat, and they mounted 2 major raids.
10:30 a.m. Britain's air defences are on full alert. But now, Air Vice Marshal Keith Park, commander of 11 Group, receives unexpected news. Prime Minister Winston Churchill has chosen today to visit 11 Group's command centre.
In full view of the controller here at Uxbridge, he could see the German forces assembling over the continent before they crossed the Channel.
Churchill watches markers appear on the table, indicating a build-up of German bomber squadrons making their way to rendezvous points over the French coast.
Starting from a few aircraft coming over or near England in the south and east coast, to suddenly having to put up 250 plus was very, very scary. Because you couldn't imagine that many aeroplanes coming over. And were we going to survive?
11:05 a.m. 2 squadrons of Spitfires from 11 Group are scrambled from Biggin Hill. Climbing fast, they set course for their allotted patrol area 25,000 feet above Canterbury. The system swings into action as Park's controllers scramble more squadrons.
Somebody would tell you that there were 200 plus, 100 plus, 50 plus coming over. A raid did build up, well, like a thunderstorm.
The Luftwaffe formations, comprising more than 200 aircraft, wheel towards England. Their target, London. Their course will take them over the farms and fields of Kent.
Our neighbour said to me, your mother's calling you, Albert. So I think she wanted me to carry something back to the huts. As I walked back to the huts, we heard a heavy drone of aircraft.
The weather was fine, clear skies, nice autumn days. And then after that, it all happened.
The aircraft of Fighter Command are about to be drawn into a major battle above the Garden of England. The fate of the nation hangs upon its outcome.
Hey, are you? Hey, I know I'm not giving a lot of commentary on this, but I can't help it. I'm in awe. I'm just I'm in complete awe.
7:36 a.m., 15th of September 1940. Luftwaffe formations cross the English coast at Folkestone. The only opposition they meet is anti-aircraft fire from the ground, reinforcing their belief that the Royal Air Force is on the verge of defeat and London is exposed to attack. Civilians in Kent have a ringside seat for the tumultuous events that will follow.
That they weren't dropping bombs. They were just flying steadily, not speeding like they do today, just steadily, masses of them, flying inland.
Sitting alone in his...
Okay, could you imagine being like, I don't know, a 10-year-old, 15-year-old even, right? Even like an 18-year-old, sitting there looking up at the sky and just seeing masses of Nazi fighters just flying over you. It's no fighting, just flying. Like, how fucking terrifying. And how, oh, Jesus, I couldn't imagine.
His garden. Graham Matthews watches almost 200 enemy aircraft cross the skies of Kent.
I was in this garden. In fact, I was sitting on the steps right behind me here when I heard the German bombers coming over. And I could see this column of German planes. They were flying into these big puffs of flak put up by the anti-aircraft guns.
Once the enemy aircraft had crossed the coastline, radar was technically redundant. So it was the observer corps, simply by looking through a rangefinder, binoculars, identified the aircraft, height, direction and number, feeding that information back to an observer center, and from that center simultaneously to the command, sector and to group.
Having got your plots, it was then up to the controller to say what he wanted done with them. When there was a battle on, you would plot your plots and you could see the combat kind of coming nearer and nearer.
Precise information on the raiders' progress is relayed to RAF fighter squadrons.
When you hear the sirens or anti-aircraft guns, you must get under cover at once. You must not stand staring up at the sky.
The siren went, and of course, as a 6-year-old, I thought, this is it, war, war. So I zoomed out to the front door and stood there waiting to see all the soldiers with their guns and firing and shooting and sword fighting and all that. Nothing.
Most people went to the underground, or if they had the lantern sort of shelter, the tins placed in the bottom of the garden. My next door neighbour, he'd dug a hole underneath his garage. If I was at home, I'd go down there and shelter.
Above Canterbury, patrolling Spitfires of 92 and 72 squadrons have spotted the enemy formations and dive in to attack. Along with other children, Ray Binks has been sent from London to the safety of rural Kent. But he soon discovered that the front line of the aerial battle now runs through the fields and villages of southern England.
We were watching all these air battles going on, and all of a sudden, from across the trees, was this German bomber, came across so low that you felt you needed to duck. And behind it was one of our fighter aircraft, and they're both having a go at each other.
And the engagement initially only lasted a couple of seconds. And then you would then break away and then attack them individually again until either you were out of ammunition or for one reason or another you weren't able to attack anything.
More British fighter squadrons join the action.
Our boys were coming out of the sky and shooting them up. They were going up, and there was these vapor trails. You had vapor trails all over the sky. It was just like a lacework pattern. So you'd hear the roar of the engines and the stutter of the guns and screaming of the engines, really. You would see the smoke start pouring out of one, and then it was plummets to the ground.
Stop worrying if the price...
I'm like, I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine standing there and just seeing like some of those planes were coming really close to the tops of the trees. Like they were close.
Drawing nearer to London, the beleaguered German formations reached the village of Chislehurst.
My father had heard that Chislehurst Caves was a place where people used to go who were bombed out. So he said, let's get into the van and we go to the caves. Not hardly any lighting at all. They gave us the hurricane lamps to find our way in. They gave us mattresses to lay on the floor, blankets, and We were one of the early ones then because that was just at the start of it. And there was very few people here. There was no sound of aircraft or bombs or guns.
But Ron has no intention of missing the excitement taking place overhead. He leaves the shelter of the caves.
I was more interested in watching what was going on. And I saw this huge formation of Spitfires and Hurricanes, more than I'd seen before. I should say roughly again about 50 or 60 of them, making their way directly towards the formation of the bombers.
Oh my God, look at
12:07 a.m. Hard-pressed and stripped of most of their fighter escort, the German bomber formations arrive over London.
Okay, don't make fun of me, but I'm literally nervous. I know what happens, but I'm still nervous.
You could hear the throbbing of these aircraft. It was pretty eerie, I must say. You could hear it was droning, you know, sort of, and you think, oh my gosh, we're going to be in for it.
Twin brothers Jeffrey and Alan Lee Williams are already accomplished plane spotters.
We knew all the aircraft before we joined the ATC, because every book we bought was about aircraft recognition, German bombers, and especially the Heinkels. They made a very distinctive noise. So you could tell the difference between a German plane and a British plane.
12:08 p.m. Park has 6 fighter squadrons over the capital itself, with 6 more en route from neighboring groups. More than 125 RAF fighters are about to fall on the Luftwaffe formations.
Once the fighters were up there, there was no anti-aircraft fighting. Otherwise our aircraft would have been vulnerable.
Clear blue sky above us. The bombers were about 15 to 20,000 feet up, I think. And the fighters were above them, beneath them. And the fighters were attacking each other. The Hurricanes were attacking the bombers, as far as we could detect. And the Spitfires were attacking the Messerschmitts.
There was this chap that I attacked. And I remember being very close to it. And I remember also it splattering bits and pieces. It's rather like hitting water with the back of a spoon. You know, you see things fly off in all directions.
High over London, 5 squadrons from 12 Group now into the fray.
There were that many RAF fighters in the sky, technically they were getting in each other's way.
You got yourself tangled up with these things with black swastikas and crosses on them and things. Occasionally, you would find you were mixed up in a dogfight and a Spitfire would whiz past and you'd think, there's somebody else here as well, a friend. But otherwise, you didn't see them. You lost contact with all your own aircraft after all. 1 minute the sky was a tangled mass of whirling aircraft and you fastened onto one and went off in one direction. And by the time you'd finished with that, you looked around, there was nobody to be seen anywhere.
Looking up, I couldn't tell which was which. I mean, to me, they looked like giant moths playing You're It. But I couldn't tell which was ours and which was theirs.
For the German airman, as he crossed over, believing that the Royal Air Force was defeated, to be confronted by another 50 to 60 Hurricanes and Spitfires, you can imagine how their morale felt.
A lot of the bombers, once they got to London, they quickly turned round, and as they flew back, they got rid of the bombs.
I don't remember hearing a noise at all. I think the bomb was so close that we didn't hear the noise.
So I heard my partner's grandfather said this, and he's repeated it a few times, and I think I'm remembering this right, when they said that so if you could hear the bombs or you could hear the plane, then you knew you were safe. But if you didn't hear anything, they'd already dropped the bombs in your area, and you should be scared. I think that's right. Definitely correct me if I'm wrong. I'm pretty sure that's what he said. Basically, the silence was meant you're effed.
But we felt the blast, and we were picked up and thrown into the wool shop. And of course, the blast had reached the window and blown.
Am I back yet? Can you guys hear me? Okay. I am trying to figure out if I should go back and finish it anyway. To hell with it. I'm just trying to catch up where we were in the chat and give it a minute. Maybe we can go back to it. I think I'm not stopping enough to reflect. I'm so overwhelmed. Scott, they certainly did SAS as the granddaddy of special forces. Yes, you did. That is right. I think I read that earlier, but Scott says, yes, the Hurricane shot down more aircraft as they were sent to shoot down slower bombers. The Spits were there to knock out fighters. Piper says she's seen this a lot. I'm sorry to be so repetitive then. There's one person I wish I had mate in this video, Disco says. Lots of British celebrities in this. RAF Hornchurch on the board with lights in the picture. I live on the edge of it. All right. Piper says it's hard for me to imagine a terror possibly being bombed. Exactly. Britain and a number of our colonies, we like to pretend we were alone. Yeah, well, mainland Britain, though, I mean, London was getting bombed. Basically, if you took London, you guys are screwed, right? So, images are from the movie The Battle of Britain. I thought Stephen, first of all, welcome. And Stephen Field says these images are from the movie The Battle of Britain. And I did see The Battle of Britain, but I have to admit, it's been several years. So I did recognize some of the footage, though, so I assumed I had seen it. I'm not sure what you're referring to, Disco, but I appreciate the confirmation. Stephen Field also says Royal Flying Corps, 1914, 1918, RAF 1918 onwards. Oh, you're talking about the World War I, World War II question I had about the RAF. Yes. Okay, so yes. So that's where we're at. Officially, the RAF wasn't until 1918, but I see where you're going. Gotcha. Thank you for the clarification. Scott says, of course, we fully appreciate the role of the U.S. in World War II. It really annoys us when we are told that we would be speaking German if it wasn't for America. American arrogance about World War II? Never. And he says, what the Americans don't realize is that the UK, if the UK fell during the Battle of Britain, the US would fall. Look, we were close to being attacked. Mainland US was close to being attacked. Very close. So yeah, we understand. Like anyone who takes a moment to think about it and actually participate understands that it was close. Disco says a couple of years ago, 2 unexploded bombs were discovered in someone's shed. Someone in my private life had told me a story about how school was closed for a week because when they were growing up, because they had found an unexploded bomb in the schoolyard. So they had to close the school so that they could, get it dug up properly and make sure everyone was safe and everything. Piper says, it mostly annoys me when Americans act like they're the only reason the Allies won. Totally understand that. What about all our soldiers and other countries' soldiers who gave their lives? Absolutely. Absolutely. We just like to come in for the last hurrah and claim victory, basically. God, Disco's lives like 2 roads from where some of this stuff happened. Jesus. I know it's insulting, and all Americans who are idiots, I do apologize. Sorry, Piper. Falco says, World War II, we had the Royal Flying Corps part of the Army, and RAF was the 1st of April in 1918. Stephen Field says the Germans underestimated the effectiveness of the radar. The Home Guard, thank you. He also helped me. The Home Guard, yes. Thank you. That's what I was trying to think of. Royal Flying Corps at Sutton's Farm, Robinson shot down the first Zeppelin. Stephen Field also says, my brother was a fighter pilot in RAF for 8 years. 4 of those were training. Wow, it's a lot of training. But I guess, yeah, you want to have, that's a job you want a lot of training for. My great-granddad was balloon regiment, in World War I. I don't know what balloon regiment was in World War I. Do you know? Can you give me some more details? Just curious, if you don't mind sharing, TJ. I don't know who Joy Caldwell is. I assume it was somebody in the film. Disco says, my wife's granddad was at Hornchurch during Battle of Britain, and my father-in-law worked on Gloucester meteors. Wow. So it's this one saying there's so many stories like that, right? That just, you have so many people have actual ties to this stuff that actually happened and vivid memories of it. And like in America, we're just so detached from everything all the time. Falco says, my last station was Brizzy Norton on the Rapier Squadron. Falco was an RAF member. Nicholas Taylor, thank you so much for joining. Says, my mother watched the Blitz of Coventry. Wow. This is Stephen Field. I'm majority at Newcastle, and we won a cup at long last. Congratulations. I did hear about that earlier in the week. So congratulations to you. Manny, you've been to Chislehurst Caves. I never heard of it before, but now I'm interested to go. Nick MacArthur says, Stephen, the last domestic trophy won was the FA Cup player. Oh, you guys are talking footy. Piper says, I think the thing that comes to mind whenever I think of the Blitz is when I was first learning about it in school and the teachers shared with us this certain bomb sounded like I'll always, what this certain bomb sounded like I'll always, I assume there's more somewhere. I'll always remember hearing this bomb for the first time, then hearing the sound cutting and thinking to myself as a child how creepy it was, just imagining what it must have been like for them, knowing the bomb was falling, but no idea where it could be on top of them. Yeah, that's what I was trying to convey in very inarticulate terms. Thank you very much for clarifying it. Yeah. I mean, even as an adult, I can't imagine it. I couldn't imagine it as a child. D. Scott said, almost everyone of my age had family in the war. I'm Scottish, but my granddad was in the Polish Free Army stationed in Dundee. My wife's granddad fought Rommel's army in North Africa. That's what I'm saying. Like, you can't be distant from it here. You can't like detach yourself from it here. It is in your face everywhere in here and you know, in Western Europe. Like, it's just, you can't get away from it. So, but in America, it's just not like that because we don't really have many attacks on American soil, which I'm not like unhappy about. Obviously, that's a good thing, right? In a lot of respects, but obviously safety and etc. But it's just you also lose a sense of compassion and a level of empathy and a level of understanding because you're not forced to deal with it. It's not forced and in your face all the time. Manny says, I must admit I didn't say much. I just took it all in, but deep down I felt a tad uneasy knowing what happened. Is that when you went to the caves? Is that what you're talking about? The Merlin engine sounds amazing. Does it? Interesting. I would imagine you learned a lot in the caves. Like, I would imagine, like, every time I go to the underground, I think of all the people that like stayed there as it's used as bunker. So I could imagine going to another place like that. Scott says the noise cutting out was the doodlebug or the V1 as it was called. It was designed to run out of fuel at a set point, hence the drive of the motor, then nothing until it hit. Oh, okay. Thank you for that. I am back. I'm not reacting enough. I gotta stop more. All right. Gotcha. All right. Do you guys want to see if we can finish this in? You want to see if we can get the rest of this in? I'll stop every couple seconds and see. I'm gonna be stopping all the time now. All right. Disco says Stephen, my cousin's partner, her granddad was in the 303 squadron. All right, let's see if we can do this. I feel like we owe the rest of this film a good view. So I will stop it often.
It in before it blew us through a fraction of a.
For the German airman, as he crossed over, believing that the Royal Air Force was defeated, to be confronted by another 50 to 60 Hurricanes and Spitfires, you can imagine how their morale felt.
This is the thing too, right? Like even if you did go into battle thinking you had the upper hand, right? Thinking that this was the time and we were going to take this, it's still daunting to be like faced with even a fraction of the enemy, let alone, you know, an overwhelming amount that you didn't think you would. I could imagine that I don't know, maybe not. I mean, I suppose you have to have a certain level of arrogance, and the Nazi regime had a very high level of arrogance about themselves, that they were invincible, right? So I guess you kind of have to have that level of invincibility in your mindset anyway to do this type of job. But I mean, for me, like, just when I'm in a plane flying and I see another plane, I'm like, we're good, right? We're not going to hit them, right? Like, I immediately get a little bit of anxiety about it. I couldn't imagine seeing like a bunch. And I was sitting in that simulator and I was like overwhelmed just to stay in the air, let alone all these like planes coming at me and stuff. I was a simulator. All right, here we go.
A lot of the bombers, once they got to London, they quickly turned round, and as they flew back, they got rid of the bombs.
I don't remember hearing a noise at all. I think the bomb was so close that we didn't hear the noise, but we felt the blast. And we were picked up and thrown into the wool shop. And of course, the blast had reached the window and blown it in before it blew us through a fraction of a second between the two events, thank God, because if we'd actually gone through the glass, I think it might well have killed us.
Like, it all, that's the other thing, is it all happens like within a second or two. You don't even have time to comprehend what's actually happening. And I would think that in the air, you're kind of doing the same thing. That's where training comes in, right? That's why you need to be trained so well. You have to be in the mindset that I'm going to survive this. I'm going to do this. I'm just here to do a job. If you're not in that mindset, then the fear is going to take over, or the anxiety or all the emotional stuff's going to take over, right? God, I could never freaking do this. Jesus. I'm too emotional.
And then, as I was about to deliver another attack on the same airplanes, the crew began to bail out. And I was immediately behind it. And I remember seeing things I didn't really recognize to start with until they flew past the top of my cockpit, and I realized they were arms and legs.
The German aircraft was shot.
It's like, oh, look, arms and legs. Was it like just arms and legs, or was it like the whole person? Because I know this is terrible that I'm laughing, but all I could see when he said that was just like random arms and legs, like a cartoon almost, like just flying around. It's awful. I'm so sorry. I shouldn't laugh. So sorry.
Down just over our area, and the pilot parachuted into the grounds of the old Bedlam lunatic asylum, which is now the Imperial War Museum. He was immediately surrounded by as many people as you can name, all very, very angry, of course.
Stop wasting your time with methods like
You know what would help is if these freaking ads wouldn't keep popping up as well. I need to take care of this.
12:11 p.m. The German formations turn away from London and head back towards the English Channel, harried all the way by Spitfires and Hurricanes.
Two of the bomber pilots decided it was time to go home. They didn't fancy, they'd never seen so many Spitfires and Hurricanes together in one time, so they took a turn. They broke off from the right side of the...
Just look like they look like birds. Like, it's just like they just look like birds flying around. I just couldn't
formation, which brought the two of them towards me. As they were coming over, they thought they'd get a bit more speed, so they started to jettison their bombs. One of the bombs came down quite near me, but being young, and then
Okay. They're obviously